Before the first light touches the Pacific, a stillness settles over the water. It is the brief, breathless pause before the world's second-largest archipelago wakes. 7,641 islands rise from the warm turquoise depths, like the scattered dreams of some ancient dreamer. Together, they form the Philippines, not merely a nation on a map, but an entire universe of culture, color, and contradiction, held together by the world's deepest waters and the most resilient human spirit on Earth. Strung across 1,850 kilometers of ocean between the South China Sea and the vast Philippine Sea, this archipelago is divided into three great island worlds. The immense Luzon in the north, where the capital Manila pulses with the energy of 17 million souls. The sprawling Visayas at its warm heart, and the vast, untamed Mindanao in the south, where jungles still harbor secrets the modern world has yet to reach. The name itself was given by strangers. In 1543, the Spanish explorer Ruy López de Villalobos christened these islands Las Islas Filipinas in honor of the man who would become King Philip II of Spain. For 333 years, Spain shaped the archipelago, leaving behind its language in place, names and surnames, its faith in the stone walls of Baroque cathedrals, and its legacy in a people who absorbed everything the colonizers brought and made it entirely their own. Of all the gifts Spain left behind, none runs deeper than faith. The Philippines stands as the only predominantly Catholic nation in Asia, with over 80% of its 109 million people bound by a faith that is not merely practiced, but lived. In the pre-dawn hours, before the highways fill and the markets open, candles are lit and prayers are whispered in churches that have stood through earthquakes, typhoons, and revolutions. Here, faith is not a Sunday ritual. It is the daily architecture of life. The voice of this nation is equally layered. Over 170 languages and dialects weave across the islands. Filipino, rooted in Tagalog and enriched by centuries of Sanskrit, Arabic, Spanish, and Malay, serves as the national tongue, while English flows through classrooms and boardrooms with equal ease. Every loanword is a fossil of a different age of encounter, a different trade route, a different story played out across the centuries. Nature, too, speaks in superlatives here. The Philippines is one of the world's 17 megadiverse countries, sheltering over 52,000 species within its forests, mountains, and coral reefs. The Philippine eagle, one of the most powerful raptors on Earth, commands the skies of Mindanao, its 2-meter wingspan casting a royal shadow over ancient forests. Beneath the surface, the coral triangle holds 76% of all known coral species, making these waters the single richest cradle of marine biodiversity on the planet. The cuisine of the Philippines is a map of the archipelago's entire history, written not in words, but in flavor. Every region tells a different story through its food. In the complex, vinegar-braised depths of adobo, the national dish, one tastes the ingenuity of a people who learn to preserve and nourish across thousands of kilometers of tropical ocean. long before the modern world arrived with its conveniences. To eat in the Philippines is not merely to take a meal. It is to read the complete history of the archipelago, its migrations, its trade routes, its centuries of encounter, told through the most universal language the world has ever known. And it is the people who are perhaps the greatest wonder of all. Filipino hospitality is not a cultural courtesy. It is a reflex. A stranger who arrives at a Filipino home does not leave as a stranger. They leave as family. From the narrow alleys of the ancient walled city of Intramuros to the remote rice farming communities of the Cordillera Highlands, the warmth of this nation is not something you read about. It is something you feel, immediately, completely, and in a way that stays with you long after the islands have disappeared behind the horizon. Let us now visit its most extraordinary places. At the northern tip of the last frontier, where the Sulu Sea meets ancient limestone cliffs, El Nido reveals itself as one of Earth's most perfect secrets. The name means the nest in Spanish, a fitting christening for a place that feels cupped in the hands of the planet itself. Protected from the ordinary world by walls of karst limestone that rise hundreds of meters from the sea. The lagoons of El Nido are its greatest spectacle. Hidden behind cathedral walls of rock, their waters shift through an impossibly precise spectrum. From the soft jade of shallow tidal pools to the deep, clear sapphire of the open coves. The small lagoon is accessible only by kayak, threading through a narrow passage in the cliff face, before opening into a chamber of complete silence, where the water glows a luminous aquamarine, and the rock walls are draped in hanging vines and flowering orchids. At Nakpan Beach, one of the most pristine stretches of sand in the world, the horizon is unbroken, and the forest comes all the way to the tide line. Fishermen launch their outrigger bankas at dawn, their silhouettes moving against a sky that erupts in shades of amber and rose. The same sky their fathers and grandfathers read for the signs of weather and tide. The limestone formations of the WWII archipelago are not merely geological wonders. They are the guardians of an ecosystem so fragile and so extraordinary that time itself seems to move more carefully here. El Nido is not simply a destination. It is a reckoning with the raw and breathtaking power of the natural world, preserved at the edge of what civilization has yet to fully reach. Across the Busuanga Island group, where the peaks of the Calamian Islands rise sharply from the sea, Coron tells a story written on two registers, one above the waterline and one far below it. Above, the landscape is dramatic and elemental. Kayangan Lake, often cited as the cleanest lake in Asia, lies hidden inside a ring of gray limestone cliffs. To reach it, you climb steep stone steps worn smooth by thousands of bare feet, until a gap in the rock opens and the lake appears below. Its water so clear and still that the submerged boulders on its floor seem to float in blue air. The silence here is absolute. Below the surface of Coron Bay, lies a different world entirely. In September 1944, American warplanes sank a fleet of Japanese vessels in a single devastating raid. Today, these wrecks lie scattered across the seabed, at depths of between 10 and 40 meters. Their hulls colonized by coral, anemones, and clouds of tropical fish. The Okikawa Maru, the Irako, the Kogyo Maru. Each one is a submerged time capsule, a monument to the violence of the past, transformed by the patient artistry of the sea. Coron demands that you look in two directions at once, at the sky above its dramatic cliffs, and at the silent, barnacled world beneath its turquoise water. It is a place of extraordinary duality, where the beauty of the present is anchored in the weight of history, and where every surface conceals a different, equally compelling world. In the heart of Bohol, something improbable has happened. The Earth has risen into a perfect mathematical repetition, producing 1,268 nearly identical cone-shaped hills that roll across the landscape like the gentle swells of a frozen emerald sea. The Chocolate Hills are one of those geological phenomena that the human eye instinctively suspects of trickery. Each hill rises to between 30 and 50 meters, its slopes covered in grass that bleaches to a rich cocoa brown during the dry season, giving the formation its name and its most haunting visual spectacle. Seen from the viewing platform at dawn, when the morning mist fills the valleys between the hills and only their rounded peaks emerge from the white, the landscape looks like something drawn by a dreaming child. Local legend speaks of two giants who hurled boulders and sand at each other in a great battle, leaving the hills behind when their war was finally done. Geologists offer a quieter explanation: millions of years of rainwater dissolving an ancient marine limestone formation, carving the bedrock into its perfect, repetitive curves. Below the hills, the Lobok River winds through the island in a slow green meander, its banks thick with coconut palms and nipa grass. A slow boat ride along its waters carries you past riverside communities where children wade in the shallows and the scent of wood fire drifts across the water. Bohol is an island of contradictions, at once deeply strange and profoundly peaceful. It is a place where the improbable has become the everyday, and the everyday has quietly become beautiful. "2,000 years ago, without the aid of machines or engineering blueprints, the Ifugao people of the Cordillera Mountains began reshaping the world. Working with only wooden tools and their own hands, they carved the mountain flanks of northern Luzon into a staircase of terraces that stretches for 10,360 square kilometers and climbs to an altitude of 1,500 meters above sea level. The Banaue Rice Terraces are often called the eighth wonder of the world. The designation is not hyperbole. From above, the terraces form a living mosaic of extraordinary complexity. each paddy a mirror of the sky in the rainy season, each one sustained by the Muyong, an ancient irrigation system that channels snowmelt and rainwater from the forested mountain peaks down through precisely maintained channels to every level of the staircase. The Ifugao did not merely build a landscape, they built a philosophy, a belief that the land is not an obstacle to be conquered, but a living entity to be consulted. To this day, the rituals that govern planting, harvest, and the maintenance of the terraces are performed with the same reverence they were given 2,000 years ago. Standing at the edge of the terraces as the afternoon light shifts across the paddies, casting each tier in a different shade of gold and shadow, is one of the most humbling experiences this planet offers. It is the most visible proof that human patience, when applied with love to the land, can create something that outlasts every empire, every war, and every season. At the far eastern edge of the Visayas, where the Philippine Sea meets the open Pacific winds, a small teardrop-shaped island has become a byword for a kind of perfection. Siargao is a surfer's paradise, though such a simple classification does profound injustice to everything this island contains. The Cloud9 surf break, a hollow, barreling right-hander that peels over a shallow reef with mathematical consistency, is considered one of the finest waves in Asia. Every September, the Siargao International Surfing Cup draws competitors from across the world to this corner of the Pacific, where the swell generated by distant typhoons arrives with a focused, powerful energy that makes the wave both dangerous and irresistible. But Siargao is not only for those who surf. The island's interior is a tangle of mangrove forests and coconut groves, threaded by rivers that open into a lagoon system of remarkable beauty. The Sugba Lagoon, reached by boat through channels of overhanging mangrove, opens into a vast, glassy expanse of water, the color of polished jade. At Magpupunco, the tide retreats to reveal a system of natural rock pools carved into the reef flat, their edges sharp with ancient stone and their water warmed by the tropical sun. In the evening, the sky over Siargao performs a spectacle that draws visitors to the shoreline in silence. A sunset of oceanic scale, where the colors stretch from horizon to horizon, and the sea catches every shade of orange and rose before surrendering to the dark. It is an island of pure, elemental grace, wild in every direction and at peace with its own remoteness. At the mouth of the Pasig River, where it meets the waters of Manila Bay, stands the most layered piece of ground in the Philippines. Intramuros, the walled city, was built by the Spanish beginning in 1571 and served as the seat of colonial power for more than 300 years. Its walls, 2 meters thick in places and anchored by great stone bastions, were designed to keep the world out. Today, they hold the world in, a dense, complicated layering of history that no other city in the Philippines can match. Within the walls, Fort Santiago guards the mouth of the river, as it has done since the very beginning of colonial rule. In its dungeons, the national hero José Rizal spent his final hours before his execution in 1896, writing the poem that would become the most enduring expression of Filipino identity. His footprints, cast in bronze, mark the path he walked to his death, leading out of the fort and toward the field where he fell. The churches of Intramuros are themselves a history of survival. San Agustin Church, the oldest stone church in the Philippines, built in 1607, has withstood every earthquake, every fire, and every war. Its walls scarred but standing. Its interior, dimly lit and heavy with incense, contains frescoes painted by Augustinian monks, their colors still warm beneath 4 centuries of smoke. Beyond the walls, Manila Bay performs its most enduring spectacle every evening. The sunset over the bay is one of the most celebrated in Asia, the sky transforming in great horizontal bands of gold, crimson, and deep violet as the sun descends into the water. Along the baywalk, the city breathes out. Its millions of people pause together, if only for a moment, to watch the light leave the world. In that pause, Manila reveals itself as something more than a city. It is a feeling, vast, complicated, scarred by history, and burning with an energy that the centuries have only intensified. This is the Philippines, not a destination, a world entire.